There's only one little microphone. Someone's got to have. Nobody else? That's yours, Jerry? Old school?
Old school, yeah.
I love it. You're like me. I love it. All right, the first thing is happy holidays to everybody out there. I know it's about 5 days till Christmas and holiday celebration, so hope everybody has a great one there, gets the time to spend it with the family. Appreciate you guys coming. Obviously, get a chance to celebrate our 2024 class. We're excited about the class we have brought in. We got 19 signees. Before I get started, as always, do want to thank a bunch of people, and you could go all over the place and thank. First one to thank is obviously our recruits and their families. They've hosted our coaches. Some of them are like, you're coming back next week. We're in there every week that we can get on the road, getting one contact a week. Myself, I'm only allowed in the home one time, and these families, the recruits, the prospects, the signees, the Pitt players now, I guess I can call them, just always make it feel at home. The meals they cook, had some incredible meals on the road, with the families, and to be able to break bread with families is the best. I want to thank our coaching staff. They're worn out. I've actually sent them home at 1:30 today. I said, since that press conference started, get out of here. The stressfulness of the season we went in. Again, we came off the season. We stayed here for 4 days, and they were gone. And we actually went, straight through the weekend. We usually come home for a recruiting weekend, but we went straight through the weekend. I think some of the coaches were looking at me like, we're doing what? Like, we can't come home and see our families? Like, go. We have no time. Short time. But again, families, the children, obviously the wives, and the coaches did an unbelievable job on the road recruiting. So I thank them. All the high school coaches, administrators, assistant coaches, all those guys. I think everybody forgets what happens to those guys on these visits, because they're taken away from their job, their family sometimes in the afternoon, late evenings. Some of the coaches will come visit with you, in the evenings as well. But thank, the coaches and administrators that, take care of our coaches. They walk in there. It's amazing when you walk into a high school in Pennsylvania and the security ladies, the security lady is hugging your assistant coaches. They've seen them so much. That's a good thing. And, you build relationships, with security people. You walk in there and you're like, wow, this is great. They love us, and that's Pitt. That's who we are. So I thank all those people because it ends. And it's going to, I don't want to say get worse for them, but in January, new rule-wise, when you think about these coaches and thanking them, our coaches are now allowed to sit down with the 25 class in January. We used to not be able to do it until next December. Okay, so what we did in December is now going to happen in January. So the recruiting process, as coaches, we'd like it to slow down. The NCAA has sped it up, and now these poor kids are going to be out of class. Coaches are going to continue to pull them out of class to see more coaches, and it's going to be chaos in January. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I thank all the coaches, administrators, obviously people on our campus. The life skills. Heather Like and Mike Faribaugh and academics, all the support people that help us when the kids come on campus. We have a breakfast at the porch, and the porch does an unbelievable job. Probably should thank all the restaurants in town that take care of us and cater to our needs and what Graham, thank our recruiting officer, Graham, give him a little wave back there. Graham and Adam, I don't know if Adam's in here. He's probably working on the 25 there. He's Adam over there. I figured they'd be in here. But those guys, they're running the show from home, and it's not easy. And I think there's, a lot of places around the country that have maybe 25 guys and they're doing it. But, these two guys run it. It's not by themselves, but we thank them as well. So let's get to the signees, just kind of give you a breakdown of what we've got in. We've got 8 on offense, 5 linemen, a receiver, a quarterback, and a running back. Still probably, I know Peke's going to ask me, are you done yet? We're not done yet. We've got 11 signees on defense, 5 D linemen, 3 linebackers, 2 corners, and a safety. And again, when you look at it overall, always talk about the big guys. We got 10 big guys, and it starts up front with 5 offensive linemen, 5 defensive linemen. Those guys take the most development. So it's we lost some guys at those spots, and so there'll be a lot of development there. Something I'm awful proud of is we got 7 of them from the state of Pennsylvania. And again, we talk about our backyard. I think when I sat here in 2015 and said how we're going to recruit is our backyard. So with that, 7 of them for PA. We got 8 other states that are included in there. And we also have one. We've had one from Italy. We've got one from Germany now, Moritz, which we'll talk about in a second, but special. So we got 7 from PA, 4 from Florida, 2 from our neighbor in Ohio, 1 from Georgia, 1 from Massachusetts, 1 from Maryland, 1 from New Jersey, 1 from Tennessee, and obviously the 1 from Germany. So I think we've done a great job there. When you think about you guys can watch Huddle and look at all those things. There's so many other things we're looking at. We're looking for, our future leaders of this football team, but we're looking for football players. And, they better have the academics they need, but we're looking for guys that love the game of football. And I think as you talk to a lot of these guys, and some will I'll say are an A+ as far as loving football. When I say a guy loves football, when I talk about them, it's like on the extreme, and you need those guys, and everybody loves it at a different degree. But I think overall, these 19 guys love the game of football, and it's important to them. And I think, if you could be a great athlete and a great player, but if you don't love it, you love something else. There's a lot of things to love in this world, but if you love something else better, or you like what you get out of football, not the game of football, I think we got problems there. So I really like, our kids' love for the game. So in this class, we've got, 5 state champions: Zach Carruthers, Alan Bryant, Jashir Whittington, Davin Bruton, and Cam Lindsay. Congrats to those. We had a couple that were a game away. Of the 19, 14 of them are team captains, which I expect them to be in our Eagles, and just kind of build that, and we'll find out who they are there. And overall, 3.0 in core GPA, which, with the NCAA, we average a 3.0, which I think is pretty strong. I'm not sure if I've given you that stat in the past, but it's a pretty good one. So I'll start off with the offensive guys. The first one, again, 5 offensive linemen is Adham Abu-Reha. Adham is from Downingtown East High School. He's a tough dude. He's a wrestler. Big offensive lineman that, was on our campus several times. Just a super kid. He's detailed. He's focused on what he wants to do. I can't wait. I told him this morning I want to see I want to see people forfeit when he's wrestling in the senior year. I think that's how tough he is. I want to see that. And I've also got video on my phone. I don't know if I'll share it with you. He's a big dude. There's not many big guys. I don't know how many. Boston, can you do a cartwheel? This guy did a cartwheel in the hallway of his academics, counselor's office there. So really athletic. So we're happy to have Adham and his family. Giovanni Cooley, Cathedral Prep up in Erie, played both ways for him up there. Obviously, he's an offensive lineman, offensive tackle, all-state guy. That, again, is just a big, rangy guy. And after we offered him, it didn't take long for him to say, I'm coming to Pittsburgh. I mean, he came down with his mom and some other, family members as well. But he's laid back and again, like most offensive linemen, but he's all Pitt, and we're excited to have him. The third guy I talk about is Moritz Schmoanzer. Did I spell that? Did I say that? Schmoanzer. He goes by the nickname of Schmo, so we'll just call him Schmo. I got that one down. Schmo is obviously from Norcross High School down in Virginia. Again, from Germany. FaceTimed him from Germany at 1:44 this morning. I got the first text message, Coach, I'm all in. It's official. And then he was eating a salmon lunch today because he was having a lunch there in Germany. I think they're 6 hours behind, but he was having lunch today, a salmon special there in Germany, mom and dad on the phone. But they are excited. He came over here in 10th grade because he loved football, and he's done a great job down there in Virginia at that private high school, North Cross. And the thing I love about this guy is he's a team guy. He watches D lineman. Coach, he comes off the ball. He can play on defense too. He's an offensive lineman, can play defense. We talked when he came up for a game with his family. Mom and dad came for a game as well. We talked about how, Coach, I'll be on the punt team. He wants to be, he sees David Green out there on punt team. He wants to be on the punt team as well. So he's one of those guys that you love. He wants to do everything. Fourth offensive lineman, Mason Lindsay from DeMatha Catholic. Again, great high school. Again, another athletic, long offensive tackle. He got to DeMatha like a lot of guys do, transferred in there. He's been starting ever since he got there. Had a little injury as a junior, which I think hampered maybe his recruiting a little bit, but we saw through that. He's a big athletic. He's tough. He's mean, and he's got a real strong mom and dad there in the home. So we feel good about Mason. The last offensive lineman is Caleb Holmes, kid from Creekside High School. Home of B.J. Williams as well, and Rashad Battle. So a lot of familiarity down there and great football. And again, this is one of those guys that you sat with him and you're like, this dude loves football. And you hear about it all season where we're trying to get a hold of him. We're allowed to talk to him, on the phone and all that, but you can't ever get a hold of him because he's at practice. He's watching tape. He's with his team. He's always doing something for football. When you talk to him, it's all about football. He don't want to talk about anything else except football. So we appreciate that. his love for the sport. The other thing that hit me when I was on his home visit is when I said, "Hey, okay, football, I get it. What else do you love?" He goes, "Coach, I love to go out and help other people." And I'm like, Celeste, I didn't text you that night. It was like, Celeste is going to love this guy. So Caleb Holmes, you may text him tonight and say, I heard Coach's presser. Like, that's the first thing he said. I'm like, this is the kind of guy that we want here in Pittsburgh, that's not just worried about himself, but he's worried about others. Quarterback, Julian Duggar. Obviously, we took one from Penn Hills High School. He's a mid-year guy. Mortz is a mid-year guy as well, if I didn't already tell you that. But Julian is a mid-year quarterback that we're really, really excited about. Things happen for a reason. We kind of waited, thought we had somebody, didn't have somebody, all those things that happened in the recruiting. But we saw Julian in a 7-on-7 a year ago, coming out of his sophomore year, I guess, coming out of his junior year, I guess. But saw him, 2 years ago, and he looked really good. But we were like, we'd like to get better. And when he came out in summer camp here, 7-on-7, and Chris Peak, you probably shot, this guy's on fire. This kid can throw the ball. He can run. He makes great decisions. He's smart. And we're excited to get a Pittsburgh guy, in our quarterback room. So he's made some major improvements throughout his, season. And, I think that's some things, that don't happen in college football anymore is that, those guys that develop in their senior year, sometimes you miss on them. And, luckily, we were not going to miss on Julian Duggar. So we're happy to have him and his family here in Pittsburgh. Juelz Golf, running back from Central York High School. Again, outstanding football player. At one point we had two, but there's no question this was the guy. His dad will tell you, he'll tell you, and I'll tell you, if we were going to lose one, this is the one we did not want to lose. He's a 800-meter guy. He's the all-time leading rusher in that school district there. He's got that breakaway speed. You talk 10-8. And he's only a senior in high school. He's explosive, it's one of those guys. If you give a crack, he's gonna take more than you block for him. And that's what we need is another one of those guys in that backfield. And the last guy on offense is Cameron Montero, kid from Brockton High School. I've recruited two other guys through my years. It's a tough high school up in Massachusetts, South Boston area. And again, a mid-year wideout. Played quarterback a lot of his career, and there's nothing better than having an athletic quarterback in your program that's smart enough to do that stuff. So he'll be a really smart receiver for us. He's athletic. He's tough, and again, he can't wait to just focus on the wide receiver position. Defensively, we got again 11 signees, as I said earlier. 5 of them are on the defensive line. Starts there. The first one is a guy that's been committed to us. He was the very first commitment, Jashir Whittington from Imhotep Charter High School there in downtown Philly. Again, this is one of those guys that loves football as well. Always got a smile on his face. He's tough. He's physical. He led his team to a state championship. We wish he was mid-year. Every time I see him, I was like, "You sure you're not mid-year?" Wish he was mid-year. Again, just one of those guys that led his team to a championship. He's explosive. He causes havoc inside. Whoever he plays against. And I know Coach Partridge can't wait to get his hands on all these guys. Next one, Ty Uhas, Pittsburgh Central Catholic, local boy. Again, family's all Pitt. And the one thing I'll tell you about Ty is, when he first got his offer coming out of camp, it was like, "Coach, I'm committing." Like, it didn't, some guys are going to go home, take 24 hours when it's real early. But there was no question right now, this guy's a Pitt guy. He wants to be at Pitt. And to me, that's important to me. There was no hesitation at all for a local guy. He's seen Pitt enough. He's been to every home game this season. I told him when he committed, I said, you got season tickets. It's like I gave him something. Every prospect gets three tickets to every home game. So he used those season tickets to his fullest. And I think he was in the locker room after every ball game, win or lose. Ty is with us, and we're excited about having him. Next one is Francis Brew from Thomas Worthington High School over in Columbus area, Westerville, Ohio area. Again, a mid-year defensive tackle. This is one of those guys in the last 48 hours, maybe 72 hours. I don't know how long it's been. I think it's publicized out there, on Twitter that he was visiting Michigan State. But it's a guy that went down to the wire. We didn't know until sitting in the lobby here as a staff that he was with us. We had some ideas, but you talk about hour and 40-minute conversations with me. Then he'd go 150 with Coach Partridge, and then it was, 60, 5 minutes with Coach Manlack. But the three of us, really tag teamed him for the last, 3 days, really, and secured his commitment. I can't tell you how thankful I am to have him. I think he's again, the mid-year is the key, and we've got 3 mid-year D linemen coming in. But with some of the voids we have in there, being able to come in mid-year is critical. So we're excited to have him. He's strong. He sent me about a week ago, him benching 415 pounds in high school. I mean, you're going to need that coming in here. But I appreciate his loyalty and staying with us. With all the temptations, as we know, there's a ton of temptations out there. He ignored all that noise and did it the right way and stayed with Pitt. The next guy, Sincere Edwards, again, Waukeva High School, home of Brandon Hill, an outstanding athlete. Some of our coaches, was the first time they had pineapple and chicken pizza. Okay, everybody's heard of Hawaiian, but that's his favorite pizza. If you guys are trying to get him to do an extra interview, you might have to ask him about, you might have to get him a pizza. But Sincere's, it says 265 pounds on him. He's actually 241 pounds. He's a guy that can maybe play a little bit. He played some linebacker in high school. I'd imagine at 240 he's going to start at defensive end. We'll see, what he looks like, but he'll be here. He does an outstanding job, and we're excited about where Sincere will be in this program. And then the last but not least on the D-line, state champion, mid-year defensive end. Again, Zach Carruthers from Chaminade Madonna High School, prep school down in Florida. Again, just an outstanding football player, defensive end. Can do it all, and probably the best compliment you can get. And I told him this on the phone today. I saved it for today. Is I'm at Bergen Catholic High School, who they beat early in the year, and I'd imagine Chaminade has maybe 10 guys signed today, and the coach is like, Coach, that guy you got out of there is the best football player on that team and best player we saw all year. Again, getting a compliment like that from another staff. Another team that you played is critical. So not only did they win a state championship, they finished number 2 in the country, I guess in the USA Today, as far as just, top teams in the country. Linebackers start off right at home here. Aliquippa linebacker Cam Lindsay, again, a really athletic guy, plays in all 3 phases for them. You watch his game. I had the opportunity to watch one live game, I believe, this year. I think it's the only game I had a chance to go to at New Heinz Field. Not Acrisure, Heinz Field, their Heinz Field. But, football player, athlete. I think he can play all 3 positions. I think he's kind of like a Servassier Dennis. I think he's one of those guys that you could put at star, you could put at money, you could put at Mike. I think he could do it all. He runs down on kickoffs and knocks people's heads off. You're going to watch him do that for 4 years. And, he plays downhill and aggressive like we need our guys to play here. The next guy, again, a guy that loves football, from Red Bank Catholic High School down to South Jersey, Davin Bruton. Again, a 235-pound guy, I don't know, but just a big physical, again, loves the game, okay? Loves the game of football. Parents own a restaurant. If you're ever, in that neck of the woods, that Kenny Pickett neck of the woods over in he called it Central Jersey. When I recruited there for years, there was never a Central Jersey. It's either north or south, but I guess they created something in the last few years. But a Central Jersey type guy, but they got a soul food restaurant, outstanding, highly recommend the catfish when you go into fried catfish. And for the first time ever, I had fried lobster at their restaurant. So that is a first. And again, I had some unbelievable meals throughout the deal, but that was incredible. Cooked by his dad as well. So, but loves the game of football, and can't wait to get him in there. I think he can be a Mike. Probably until we get him here, I think he can play them all as well. But he's a bigger guy that's going to maybe be at the Mike or the money position and sick him to the quarterback. Last guy, again, a mid-year guy from Miami Norland, Jeremiah Marcelin, a big physical guy. He was one game, maybe a couple plays away from winning the state championship. I think everybody in the state thought they were going to win it. They didn't get it done. And I know he was crushed. He played the entire season with a broken pinky, had surgery after the year. So he's in a little finger cast now or whatever, but had some pins put in there. But you talk about tough. He is a tough, physical guy that I can't wait to watch come in here and practice this spring and see what he's all got. But he's a detailed guy, and like I said, he's got great size, he's got instincts, and he's got toughness. Moving into the back end, safety, we've got one safety, and Alan Bryant. Thing I'll say about Alan from St. Thomas Aquinas High School, again, when you look at some of these high schools, you're talking DeMatha, you're talking Red Bank Catholic, Miami Norland, St. Thomas Aquinas. These are some of the top high schools in the country that we're pulling guys out of that love the game of football and been coached well. But Alan Bryant, again, big old safety. He's detailed, and again, he's laser focused on what he's doing. He's really smart. He's going to be one of those guys back there, for a few years here that we expect to make a lot of plays. He had 3 interceptions this season, and again, a state champion as well for his high school. So that's our safety for the signee for the year. And then we got 2 cornerbacks. Nigel Maynard, a kid from Stewart's Creek High School in Tennessee. You sit there and say, what are we doing down in Tennessee? I think it's our first player that we have from Tennessee. We almost had a quarterback a couple years ago. Nigel's a really good player. He's got family in Youngstown. Long story short, his mother and my little sister, okay, and she's got a twin, were in elementary school together, okay? So it goes way back. That's not why we got him, but it was, you find these connections as you're talking. Probably got to go back in St. Ed's middle school and find the picture, okay? Find out what they looked like back then. But so he's got connections in Youngstown, and the connection was he came down to camp. It was summer. Hey, let's go to Pittsburgh's camp. Just out of the blue, he came to Pitt's camp. We loved him. We offered him, and we've kind of stayed on him since then. And now he's a Pitt Panther as of 7/22 this morning. So we're excited to have him. And then the last guy in defense is Davion Pritchard. Another Youngstown, Ohio native, Austintown Fitch, another guy that was here in 7-on-7. He was already committed to us by the time he came to 7-on-7, but again, impressed us even after, being committed, athletic guy who'll bring some of that Youngstown toughness down into Pittsburgh with the Pitt toughness, but, a guy that will excel at the corner position like so many have here at Pitt. So that's what I got. So with that was too long. I'll open it up for questions.
Pat, just here to you guys about a little over a year and 8 months ago. How have you seen him grow as you guys have stayed in touch with him during that time?
I'd say the first thing he grew is he just got more maturity on the outside. Football-wise, I think he's been a great football player, and I'm sure his high school coach can tell you more about the day-to-day maturity that he's had. But the one thing I noticed is, at first it was like, hey, I'm committed, and I'm going to go visit here, and then that all went away in the last year. That might have been the first 2 months of maybe enjoying recruiting, but Jashir just kind of grew up as far as just knowing what's important, where I belong, what a commitment and loyalty really means. That's what I see, from him, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more improvement on the field. But he obviously got stronger and he's more physical. When you talk about the athletic attributes, but he's a really good football player.
How many mid-year guys do you guys have right now?
How many mid-years in this class?
Yeah.
Gosh, I think 8 or 9. Let me look back here. 8. 9 of them. So 9 mid-years. Again, I'll throw those mid-years at you again here, just so you know who they are. Moritz is, Julian is, Jewels is, Francis is, Sincere, Zach, Jeremiah, and Alan Bryant. Good question.
I spoke to the importance of, finding some of these guys right in your backyard, but what is it specifically about some of the players you guys have brought in through the Whitfield that is so important to you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if a guy leaves this area, and sometimes they do. Sometimes we want him, sometimes we don't. The first thing I'll say is it's the quality of football in this area, okay, in the Whitfield, that's still there. And I think, sometimes people think it's gone, it's down. The Rust Belt state, which we know, Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania, state of Pennsylvania, are still in that category. But, the quality of football that we have in this state is still high. The quality of coaching. And again, thanking all those coaches for all the hard work they put in. But it's the coaching, the development, and the love of football, and obviously the love of Pittsburgh that brought all those guys here. So it just tells you that, Pennsylvania's still playing a lot of really, really good football. I go out to where Jewels is from. You talk Whitfield, but Harrisburg, you look at, Kenny Johnson and what he did last year. I mean, I didn't know there was any football out there, supposedly. That's what other coaches around the country will say. I've heard them talk about, like, hey, this is other coaches in Power 5 saying, yeah, there's not much not many football players in the state of Pennsylvania. Okay, well, I think we got 7 pretty darn good ones.
Pat, you mentioned Cam Lindsey reminds you of Savassier. In what ways?
You know, he's really smart. He's athletic, and like I said, Savassier could play anything. You know, people say, you know, he's a Mike and a middle linebacker, but he played everywhere for us. And, you know, he was an outside linebacker playing inside. So we think he's got great speed. He's got great athleticism. We think he's got a great mind for the game. And he's focused on what he wants to do. I mean, the focus part is important.
You guys obviously recruited Julian to play in a different offense, but do you think his skill set actually will be even better for this new offense?
I do think it'll be better. You know, Coach Bell is left-handed. You know, when he jumped up on the board, I'm like, hey, Julian's left-handed too. You know, a lot of people don't like left-handed quarterbacks. I think that's maybe one of the reasons he was still waiting for us in the summer. Matter of fact, one of my first, I guess my second full-time job, I won't mention his name, but he called me last week. You know, we're talking about recruiting, and he said, you know, just talking about different positions, what we want as an offensive lineman, what kind of running back do we want? Quarterback. Don't bring me a left-handed quarterback was the comment. I think there's a lot of great ones throughout the country right now, but I think that, you know, that was maybe 30 years ago, 25 years ago, but it's like, no left-handed quarterback. Wow. It's like, that makes it easy. I can go out there. If he's left-handed, I can just walk out of the school and go the other way. I'm not going to bring quarterback coach a left-handed quarterback, but, you know, I don't think it matters which way that ball comes out. He's talented, he's athletic, and, again, he fit our offense. You know, again, you talk about dual threat and drop back. I mean, you know, last season we were, you know, 75% 11 personnel and in the gun most of the time anyway. We dabbled in a lot more things that maybe, you know, we didn't need to, but, you know, probably our best personnel grouping is 11 personnel in the gun. So, you know, to me, he's a drop back guy. He's also a dual threat guy. He's got the, you know, capabilities of doing both. It's not like this athletic quarterback that we're just going to make all these quarterback runs up now, because he's got a great arm, and you know, and I don't want to put him in that box of he's a dual threat. I think he's a drop back quarterback that's athletic enough to, you know, to get out of trouble, you know, use his feet, make plays with his feet, but you know, he can throw the ball. He can pass the ball. He's got great touch, and he's really, really intelligent. And when he came on the visit just this past weekend, because we didn't visit him in June, first thing I said is draw up your favorite play. And the drawing he drew up, I've seen a lot of coaches around the country can't draw it as detailed and as well as what he did. I'm like, whoa. And then, you know, okay, tell me what you're reading here. And he went through the progression. I'm like, whoa. It was different. And so we're excited to have him.
Could you envision Goff or Montero making instant impacts with this new offense?
You know, I think, you know, we want to play as many people as we can. You know, we're going to change the tempo up a little bit. We're not getting into philosophies and offense and what we're going to do. And I'm saving, you know, Coach Bell. Just so you know, I sent Coach Bell home too. Matter of fact, he left about a half hour earlier than everybody else to take a flight home. It's his daughter Palmer's birthday today, her second birthday. So I was like, get out of here. I'm coming home tomorrow. I was like, no, you're going to be home for your daughter's birthday. He got here on Tuesday. I offered him a job on Sunday. I'd never seen a guy get here so fast and on the road. And get working, and he did a heck of a job for us in the 4 or 5 days. I got a ton of text messages, you know, new guys here. I got some things going here. I mean, he's a grinder that way, but I'm not sure where that question went, but I just went off. So figured it.
Well, I asked if Goff or Montero are guys that can immediately play, that are immediately ready to play, or if you think those guys with this new offense might need a little more seasoning, so to speak.
I think everybody on this list has a chance to come in and play. I'm not going to tell you someone can't. I can tell you this, you know, whoever comes in mid-years, you know, with the offense has got a chance to learn it right next to everybody else. It's not like everybody's got a year on them or 2 years or a spring under their belt. Even the guys that come in the fall are coming in, you know, I should say coming in the summer. So they're coming in 9 months or, you know, 3 months later, 9 weeks later, whatever it may be. And they're coming in, you know, to learn it, and they're 1 semester behind. So the learning curve won't be as great for any of these guys, but, you know, I'm never going to put a bar up saying you guys can't do it. You're freshmen, you know, as you know. I mean, we had at least 8 guys play last year. I think a bunch of guys start. At least 5, you know, got, you know, 4-game plus as far as playing experience. So, you know, any of these guys can play. We're looking for difference makers in the backfield. We're going to go faster than what we have. You probably won't see a huddle out there much. So when you're going fast, you're going to use more guys in there. And, you know, is it 6 or 7 plays fast? run those guys, the skill guys out, stick another 6 in there, and let's go. So I would say anybody on this list, and we'll find out this spring.
Now, you recruited a lot of these guys for a number of years. How did they respond to Kate? What was the reaction you were getting?
Really good reaction. Had people calling from outside saying we want to come, and we didn't have any spots. So you had other guys that were committed to other schools calling, asking, hey, we want to be a part of it. So I think it spiked recruiting a little bit. The freshness, newness of what we were going to do, and again, I guess read about what we got, and so we'll talk about that later.
You mentioned that you took a FaceTime from Moore at 1:44 this morning.
Not a FaceTime, no, I was sleeping. But when I heard a buzz, I rolled over, and he just said, it's official. Yeah.
I was wondering how much sleep you got in the last 24 hours.
Well, I got sleep in the last 24 hours. I would say a week ago, I didn't get much sleep, but we talked about that at the end. But no, December was not an easy month for any coach. But it was especially hard on someone that was trying to do all this recruiting, and then it was, in the wee hours of the night or early morning, trying to find an offense coordinator.
You brought up Coach Bell. Can you take us through a little bit of that interview process and how he's a little bit of a departure for you in terms of the past offensive coordinator you hired? What about him impressed you so much that you said this is the guy?
Yeah, again, I want to keep it on these guys, Amanda, to be honest with you, and I'm going to answer that briefly because I'm not going to ignore your question because it's Christmas, so Merry Christmas. Again, you always got to change, and you're moving with it. We talk about evaluation of what we do, how we do it. We're spread anyway, and we're going to play good defense no matter what, and I wanted to play great offense. And I wanted to get a guy that could score points, a guy that had an attitude that we're going to score and we're going to go and to push our guys to be the best they can be and have fun doing it. And I think part of it is having fun, and I think that's what we got.
You're one of those teams that goes 12 seconds between snaps.
We'll find out, Jerry. I don't know. Possibly every once in a while. Maybe 7 seconds. How about that? His little term is hit the gas, so we're going to hit the gas a little bit faster. Yeah, Chris?
You have 3 linebackers in this class. You signed 3 last year. All those guys played last year. Do you feel like these 2 classes back-to-back are kind of rebuilding the linebacker room to some extent, kind of setting it?
Yeah, rebuilding. I mean, I think, we've lost some good players. When you think about some of the guys and that's no disrespect to our players. Don't misquote me. But we lost some good players through there. And again, those 3 linebackers we got a year ago and these 3 right here, again, you're playing with young guys. Savasier played young, so all these guys have a chance to play. And we're going to put them in there and let them go and teach them and coach them and mentor them through this process. But, we got young guys, all over the place. We played with the young guys last year, so I wouldn't call it, rebuild, but you can use that term if you like.
About Goff, you said that was the guy that if you were going to lose one, you didn't want to lose him. You mentioned explosiveness and breakaway stuff. What's the next level for him to achieve, and why was it that was the one that, of all people, you did not want to get away?
Well, I think it comes down to speed. There's a lot of good backs that are a little bit slower, a little bit bigger, but this dude's explosive. And, as a defensive guy, the one thing you don't want is have that guy that if you give him a crack, a 5-yard run turns into 55. That's what you don't want. If you lose a big guy and you miss him for 5, he gains 7 or 8 or 10, you're okay. I mean, those guys aren't going to bother you as much. Might be physical, but, we're going to be physical too.
Matt, you had a couple decommitments, but for the most part, I mean, this group stayed intact. Were you surprised that it was able to stay this way after the season you guys had?
Not really. I mean, I think they get it. They understand. Sometimes it's like that. I mean, you just, it doesn't surprise me. I think it's the relationships that we've built. I think it's still, I'll go back to Francis Brew. I mean, I think, sometimes as coaches, you walk out in high schools and you see what's going on in the world and recruiting, and you kind of wonder, like, where are we going with this game? And then there's Francis Brew comes through, and it's not about maybe some of the exterior things that we don't even want to talk about today. It's about the relationships. And to me, sometimes as coaches, we feel like, man, do they really care? Do they really care about relationships, or is that what they're not looking for? But with Francis, it was about relationships and what he'd build with us, development he's going to get. And that's what we sell, is the people you're going to be around every day, the relationships you're going to have, and the opportunity at every position to get developed to be the best player you can be. And again, so that's kind of it.
Coaches at this level have to have kind of energy. How do you guys to it. The season ends last weekend in November, and you've probably been going 6, 7 days a week, 4 weeks.
7. You know how it is, Jared? It's a great question, and I knew you'd have a great question. Here's what it comes down to, and I know it comes down for me, and I can't speak for every coach, but it comes down to passion. Like, what do you love to do? And that's why I said I love players that love the game of football. And, you know, in this game, if it was easy, coaching, everybody would do it. Because a lot of coaches out there would like to be, or people would like to be coaches. But, you know, it's not easy, and you better love the grind. You know what you're getting into when you get into this business. Our coaches know it. Sometimes they forget it. But you're in this business to grind, and this is what we do. And, you know, again, regardless if it's 3.5, 4 hours of sleep, like, you wake up the next day and do it again, and you do it because you love it. That's what we do. And again, you know, that's the only reason I can give you. Because if you didn't love it and didn't have passion for it, you know, I could be sitting on a beach with a margarita right now with my feet up, relaxing. That's going to come someday. Next question.
You mentioned how the rules change and how it's sped up. A sweet spot or a rhythm in dealing with recruits and the transfer portal and all of that stuff. How is that? It's been easier. Have you found some area where you can try to juggle all of it?
Nothing's easier. It gets harder by the day. I can tell you that. You know, the rules, you know, everything that's going on out there, and I don't want to get into the weeds about all this stuff, but it gets harder every day. It's not easier. There's no loophole that we fell into and said, hey, look at this. Let's try this. It just gets harder by the day. And I think there's no group in this country that was more disappointed last week, you know, hearing about a possible can transfer as many times as you want. Like, what are we talking about? You know, is anybody going to get a degree anymore? And it's discouraging to think that in the game of college football and student athletes, because I'm going to still call them student athletes till I die, is that we're not talking about degrees. And if you transfer every year, you're never going to get your degree. And that's why I got into coaching, is to make sure kids get their degree and play football. But it's really, number one, to get your degree. And football is the avenue that's going to pay for you to get your degree, and it's the fun part of your job. And so it's changing. It doesn't get any better, and that's where we are.
NIL discussions involved in your recruiting this year. We talked to kids.
You know what? The great thing is I have no discussion. I had zero discussion on NIL, okay? Because I let, you know, other people take care of that. I'm a football coach. I'm like Coach Tomlin and Coach Belichick. I want to coach football. I'm not talking contracts. And you know, our kids know that. Our, you know, recruits know that. Our signees know that. That's the way it is.
In fact, even though you didn't discuss it personally with guys,
Say it again.
it was still a factor.
Oh, it's a factor. Oh, yeah. It's a major factor. And it's a major factor for some, but again, I want guys that want to play football and that love football. And if all you're talking about is that, we're moving on. We're going that direction. Because you know what? If we got to deal with it now, and we've maybe made that mistake in the past, if you're talking about it so much now, guess what? In a year, we're going to be talking about it again. And then the next, you know, after spring ball, we'll talk about it again. Don't really want to talk about it. You know, I don't want anybody else to have to talk to them about it either. We want guys that want to play the game of football, learn, develop, and make generational wealth in 3 or 4 years when they, you know, end up in the NFL, like Brian O'Neill and Devontae Maddox and Damar Hamlin, Dane Jackson and Aaron Donald. All those guys, you know, before us, you know, they played football and they've done well for themselves. And, you know, sometimes I worry about, you know, where they're going to be if they aren't hungry like all those that have come before us.
You mentioned how that's a big part of this process now. Is that just something that you go into a meeting knowing that you're going to have to address and, you know, hear what other schools are offering them?
Yeah. You go into, I mean, every meeting you go in prepared, knowing what you're dealing with. But, you know, that's normal. That's nothing. It's not like I got to go take a refresher class on, okay, he's going to, you know it's coming. But you know what? It doesn't come all the time. That's a beautiful thing. So you get a feel. Like, if that's, like, the first thing out of their mouth, what do they care about, okay? And again, is that what you want? I hope it's the last thing out of their mouth. And again, half this class, they didn't even come up. Maybe more, you know, without counting numbers.
Did any of your guys that came through the transfer portal sign yet?
They have. This is high school day.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
You're getting ahead of yourself, but yeah, we've got, you know, others on the horizon. We're trying to make this about these guys. It's their first go-around. We're going to have a special, as I told some of the transfers, we're going to have a special deal when they get here. of putting them right here in front of you. You can get them right at the podium. You can eyeball them up. You can put them up against the wall, put a height and weight chart here, do it all, whatever you guys want to do. But we're going to be, those guys are going to be available. It's special for them, when that time comes, and we kind of wanted to do it that way. Is that okay, EJ?
I think it's outstanding.
Okay.
Can we have a couple other questions before we wrap up? Chris, I see your hand in the air.
Sorry to bring us back to this, but I just wanted to clarify. You said you guys had 9 mid-year recruits.
Yep.
But I think I only took down 8 names. Francis, Sincere.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we go into this one? I've got it right in
Thank you.
front of me.
Thank you.
Coach, if you want me to handle this?
Go ahead.
Goff, Duggar, Montero, Moritz, Sincere, Crothers, Marcelin, Nigel, and Francis. You have that right?
Montero. That's the one. Thank you.
Should have gone a little slower for you. Jerry had that down big time.
Fingers still work.
How about a couple more before we wrap up?
Pro.
Anyone else?
Pat, just looking at your class, the high-ranked guys are once again on the defensive front. What's it just say about your defensive staff's ability to go get the big end prospects?
You know what? They're all big end. I could care less about those stars. I have no idea. I've never looked, don't care to look, don't care where it's ranked. We've had this discussion before. I could care less. Those stars that they got don't mean that the guys that don't have 1 star, 2 stars. I mentioned it to a corner's parents last week about, we had 2 first-rounders who were 2 stars. I thought only one of them was, but we've had first-round guys 2 stars. That tailback that played next door here for a long time, Le'Veon Bell, was a 2-star guy. We beat Bowling Green on, so what does it matter? I mean, I've seen enough of that, and I've seen 4 stars that stink. So we can talk all we want about that. It doesn't matter.
Final question, Jerry?
Nobody else said it. You mentioned your Maynard's mother and your sister went to elementary school together?
Yeah,
Was that in Youngstown?
yeah.
What's your sister's name?
I'll give you that.
You don't-
It's Regina. Yeah,
Is that all right if I mention her name?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll get it with you, Jerry. Details. You got it.
Is St. Edward still open?
It is. It is.
And the school they went to, St. Edward?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, thank you very much.
Used to be an altar boy there, too, by the way.
You were?
Heck, yeah. I don't know if they got video of that, but thanks, guys. Hey, have a great holiday.